Can you raise your hand?
So there's been a motion made that will accept the engineer's recommendation on awarding the contract for
With the
Range Road Business
contingency
Park. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Look at Jack Green, look at it.
And I would have voted no if it had been bonded, so thank you for the cash.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you all so very much. I
Thank
can't
you,
wait.
Jack.
I can't wait till March. I can't wait till the ground.
They start digging.
Can't wait to get a shovel.
The shovel?
Thank you all so very much.
Thank you.
It's exciting, Jack.
We do want you to know, we're going to invite a bunch of people to the groundbreaking. A lot of the chamber, we're going to ask existing members of the business, existing folks in the business park to maybe bring examples of what their product is. I figure that'd really work well with Country Boy.
Oh, my.
And then Jack's even working on, we want this to be, this is a big deal. And for everyone who attends, we expect to have a little memento of the day, Range Road Business Park souvenir thing that we're working on.
You know, I remember when we first started on this business park several years ago, and it was put piece by piece by piece by piece to get where we are now. It's great that we can go ahead and say we're going to do the second phase completely without having to, once it's done, now, here's the issue we got. There's no more business park to build on. We might have to be looking for more property down the road.
Well, we'll start then. We now have freed
Very
up
little, though.
We've freed up the Basler Farm.
Right.
For phase 3.
Yeah,
And
well, that's the,
so we're still
Yeah.
thinking down the road.
there you go.
And we are, yes, and may I add?
Yes.
The Economic Development Subcommittee of Scott County United that is the one that's being the recipient of the $200,000. You're one of the mayors on that committee. So we are looking long-term. We aren't just looking at the short term.
Right.
So what happens when I'm gone? What happens in 15 years or 20 years in terms of economic development and in particular industrial development? So we're going to be looking at all those kinds of things so that we're not going to leave just everybody, yeah. We're going to be thumbs up.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead, Mayor.
Just the other thing that Jack and Andrew and I have been talking about is tracking sales that are either certain or very close.
Yes, sir.
And I think in pretty short order, we're going to pay off our existing debt
Absolutely.
on the business park
Yes, sir.
and move on with this plan the way we envisioned it.
Absolutely.
It's a good plan.
Is Helen Donaldson literal? She's still around?
She's in Northern Kentucky. I know she retired from Toyota. She's doing some consulting work for the Northern Kentucky Chamber, some other ones, but I haven't talked to Helen for, 2 years ago at,
Yeah, she's around.
she is around.
Helen Donaldson, right?
Helen Carroll,
Not Donaldson?
no.
No, it's no longer Donald's.
It's no longer, it's Helen Carroll.
Same lady.
Uh,
not Donald's.
Yeah.
Yes, but she's, yes, same lady.
I just wonder if
It's on
maybe,
TV.
wonder if an invitation ought to be,
Be more than happy to.
extended to her.
Be more than happy to.
She was involved.
Yeah. And I'm sure there are many others,
Oh, gosh, yes.
from that.
We did a broadcast, invitation that went out today. You all should have received it. I know that you should have received your invitation and the magistrates, and we're reaching out to just a lot of people. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Great.
And Andrew and I are doing our logistical trip next Monday at 2. We're going to, this will be an interesting, it'll be a logistic challenge for us. We're hoping, but it's going to be a big deal,
A little
folks.
bit. We've ordered shovels for
Yes, sir, we have.
all of you.
We're going to get a shovel.
And all,
Nice
and all
one.
the fiscal court and the business park authority. So we're all gonna.
We're worried about fitting everybody in the little space that we've.
That's why you can't be too vigorous with your shovel throw, or you.
So you
might
just want
hit
to
the
put
person.
it in turn,
Remember when the
right?
kids shoveled it back at
Those kids. That's right.
Oh, they
Thanks,
threw it
Jack.
back at you.
Thanks, Jack.
Oh, goodness.
A little kid in candy shop, isn't he?
Let's see. Item 10 on the agenda. Police Department also has an application for a Homeland Security grant. Chief leave.
He just went that way. I just saw him walking that direction.
Is it costing
He's
you
coming.
money to do it?
I don't think so.
Hi, Chief.
It's your turn. It's your turn.
We asked people to sit and wait and wait and wait and wait. call on them in the moment they step out. Chief, you've got a Homeland Security grant
Yes.
for us to consider?
It's just an application for the grant. We want to use it for protective gear, I think. Protective gear. When we looked at the railroad incident, we realized how bad that could have been, and we wanted to see if we couldn't get a grant for it. It's just the application. We haven't been accepted, but we'd like to apply for it.
Motion, Mayor.
Motion's been made
Second.
and seconded. Any questions for Chief? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thanks, Chief.
Thank you.
Item 11 on your agenda, Robert asked if we would pass on number A and bring it back to him, bring it back later. They've got a question about they're being very careful to make sure this equipment will fit on the specific truck that will get through Enterprise. So rather than rush it without knowing the answer, we just figured we'd slow down one meeting and get those answered. Also, Robert has included approving some items for surplus.
Yep.
I think you'll have a list of those. And how will we get rid of those? Tracy, will that be a
On public, yeah, online.
online auction?
I'll
Motion.
second.
Motion's been made and seconded for the approving the items for surplus. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Before we get to council comments, one thing I failed to mention during mayor's comments, we followed up in two different ways on Millie's suggestion, and you and Karen talked about contacting the folks at Bluegrass Community Action about the bus stop. We elected to do that first by a phone call, since we know those people pretty well and have worked with them a bunch. And they gave us pretty good feedback on where everything is situated now. And it came about from the public hearings that we all went to, and we all broke into work groups about what areas need to be touched on. They used that community input to draft their grant. And the grant followed the route that had been proposed through the public engagement process. Now, what he said, what they start doing now is tweaking this route. They don't have enough data yet, but very soon they'll have enough data to know which of the pickup places are working the best, which one are getting no traffic. Mm-hmm. And then as they start making those corrections, they're willing to consider, if we drop this one, can we get a stronger one here? So there will be the tweaking process that continues. In terms of getting out West Main Street, that's a significant deviation from the way the routes are drawn now. And he said that they were in the process now of putting together their grants for next year. And they're going to ask for a little more money to expand a little more routes. And he thought our best shot would be during this grant application process that they're going through. We've already written letters of support.
That's good.
It's just their activity. They understood why we had asked. I let them know that council members had asked about this particular facility. And we've gone ahead and drafted a letter signed Tom Prather on behalf of the Georgetown City Council. Just what you all said. We want to thank you and express our gratitude for what's happened, and hope you will considering adding a location to your regularly scheduled routes. Claremont apartments located at 700 Claremont Drive, large elderly population, no sidewalk. So
Thank you.
we both followed up with a phone call and a letter to make that request.
How did they say that that it was going over in Georgetown?
They were generally encouraged, but said they really don't have enough data. They need another month or two,
Okay.
and then they deal with that. But they can already see that some locations are going to work better than others, and that's what they do.
A change of logo?
Yeah.
Yes, that.
Well, and believe it or not, that logo was skillfully designed by our internal. Andrew put that little logo together. It looks pretty in color.
The IT.
Yeah.
And the other thing that's kind of fun, Jack's not here, but Andrew, toying around, came up with the logo for Lanes Run Business Park that Jack and the Business Park Authority fell in love with. And this
Andrew, you doing all this on the side?
Sure.
graphic artist, on the memento that we're gonna have for a gift, we're gonna have the logo that Andrew designed for Lanes
Right.
Run Business Park. So, yes, as a matter of
Andrew, you'll be in Georgetown forever with that memento gift. What do you think?
Well, I kind of chuckled with them. We have 2 new logos, and we didn't spend $100,000 for either one of them.
No,
There you go.
that's true, that's true.
Andrew just drew them up and brought them in and said, "What do you think?" I like them.
Talented young man.
So we do the budget plan on graphic design these days. Okay, enough of that nonsense. Council comments. Millie, shall we start with you?
Okay, this has to do with kind of the discussion that was in the room right before the meeting started. I was, found out recently, like a bunch of you all did, I guess through Facebook, that Harold Jesse is stepping out of the race and is moving to Florida. I went up to tell him goodbye. And so it reminds me of a conversation Tom and Polly and I had about, I think the percentage was about 80% of the cities in Georgetown do not have a May primary to move on. Like this situation now, Tracy's running unopposed, and now there's 16 council members going for 16 spots. And I believe there's 3 people, or 4 people for mayor.
4 and maybe 5.
Okay.
Could be.
And I just think that it just seems like that it would, if we could consider this down the road, and it would be you all, it wouldn't be me, but possibly eliminating that if possible, because it's worked out for some other cities in Kentucky. It seems like it would save a lot of time and some aggravation and some money.
Are you talking
In other
about not
words-
having the primary for the council?
For the nonpartisan, like the clerk, the mayor, and the councils, the positions that are nonpartisan. Because, you know, if Harold hadn't stepped out, it would be a race to eliminate one person.
Well, I talked to Amber today, and she said she's not 100% certain that the votes for the council will not still be, they still might be tallied. So we still might have a.
Yeah, but that's not exactly what I'm talking
Yeah,
about.
but it's still, though, you'd have to, if you did have the race,
I'm talking about everybody moving on to November and the decision being made in November for a nonpartisan race. If there's 24, or if there's 4 mayors, the top 8 vote getters for council, or the top
Late last year,
vote getter for mayor.
Millie and Polly brought this to my attention, and
We just
I
talked
was
about it.
surprised. When I started doing some homework about their suggestion, and I had no idea that of the cities in Kentucky that currently use a nonpartisan format, like Georgetown does, 84% of those cities have dropped their primaries.
See?
I had no idea. I thought a state statute, I thought we had to do it this way.
I thought I didn't know that many had done it. There's arguments for and against. Obviously, the arguments for are it's less expensive on county government.
Right.
Clerk doesn't have to have an election.
Right.
It makes life easier on candidates. They can run for one race and not have to run all year long.
One time.
It might encourage other or different people to run. There's all those things that should be considered. On the downside, I talked about it with several of you. Chuck, I think we talked about a complication that we came up with is it might be difficult in the mayor's situation where if 5 people went forward in a primary, a mayor could get elected with 25% of the vote.
Right.
But it makes perfect sense for council races. And the fact that 84% of the cities in Kentucky that follow our election type have done this, the reason I didn't pursue it with the full council is we would have had to have done it immediately to be effective for this year's races.
Oh, I didn't want it to be that quick.
And it was too quick to bring to the council that kind of change. But when we found out that so many Kentucky cities have done it, and then we had a council member withdraw, and we're seeing the effect of this. I thought it would be a decent conversation for the new council to have in January. And
it's a
it's
great
a fresh group. It'll be 2 years before the next election.
That's right.
And that would be a reasonable time for the new council to discuss that. So it's a very valid concept that's been done in more places than it hadn't.
Well, thank you for letting me bring that up. We did have a nice discussion about it, and I didn't mean for it to happen right away, but just food for thought,
Yeah.
down the
Well,
road.
It's similar to, there was a time 30 years ago when we had partisan races in city government. And it was pretty radical when I suggested we go to nonpartisan races. Most of the people in my party wanted to kill me. Still the right thing to do.
Were you
Yeah.
on the council then, I guess?
I'm
Or the
mayor.
mayor? You were the mayor. So I guess the council had to vote on your suggestion and,
They did, they
Back
went,
then, council wasn't as strict about who had to sponsor ordinances.
yeah.
So,
Oh,
so you sponsored your own, put it on up, huh?
you just put it out there. Put it out there.
and the logic then was, it was a different environment. There were no Republicans in Scott County to speak of. Very few.
You had one back in the, I could be right, I could be wrong about this. I was thinking there was one back in the 70s, late 70s maybe, female. There's Republican, and then a Republican didn't get elected to council until I got elected in that race in 2000.
What occurred to me, Karen, is that because there were so few Republicans registered then, that Republicans were not getting to vote in primary elections.
Right.
I mean, I'll look at it.
And that just seemed wrong to me. This is local races about your local community. I thought everybody ought to get to vote in a primary. And the only way you can do that is have a nonpartisan race.
And I don't think the majority of the folks, unless you're in tune with politics and you really know the person, you really know that, I don't think they really know what we are for this group. I don't really think that many know what we are registered or what we're not registered.
I hope not. I think it works. The real ironic thing is I brought up changing our form of elections. And in my next general election, there were 5 of us in the primary. They were all Democrats. And I won the primary with 49% of the vote. There were no Republicans registered. So if I'd left it alone, I would have been elected mayor. But because I had insisted on a nonpartisan format, the top 2 finishers had to run off. I kept my 49% of the vote. Warren Powers got every other vote there was out there. So I was the architect of my own defeat.
Unintended consequences.
But it was still the right thing to do. We don't need partisan races in the city.
We don't need it.
Thank you, Billy. Anything else?
That's all. Thank you.
Marvin?
2 things. Terry Devers talked to me not about the sidewalks. He's been trying to get the state to help clean that brush off the banks. Will one of y'all make a call to the state, because he's like to get that brush so people can see, and it's everywhere down through that area. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, no, exactly.
And over on Powers Drive, over at Scroggins Park.
Yeah.
I went over there yesterday, dropped that guy off that's helped me work a little bit, and come down Powers Drive from the ball field back towards going out, and there's trash over there. Oh, and I guess they just dumped the house out. It needs to be cleaned up, okay?
It was set out.
No, it's just thrown out.
Is it in the housing authority? Isn't that over in the housing authority?
But we still pick the stuff up, but it's a disaster in that one spot over there. It's probably 15 foot diameter.
Probably nobody
From
called
the
Public
road out
Works
into
and
the
told.
yard. Just like to look at that and get it cleaned up. Neighbors on one side might be very upset about it. I don't know. That's it.
Good. We, speaking of trash, I may have mentioned to a couple of you, we reached out and helped Stamping Ground today in a pretty big way. They had a little problem with the dumpster.
That's helping your community.
Well, it's tough when you try and do the right thing to help your community and people take advantage of you. But the fact that they tried to leave a dumpster out in a city lot over the weekend, unattended. What do you think happens? Yeah, so we,
And then some, probably.
Their cup runneth over.
Yeah,
they piled on top.
it just rolled out.
Then they started just throwing it on the ground around it.
So what, you have to
Shoot.
send another truck down or a dumpster to clean?
Folks, I'm talking about couches, mattresses, furniture. The Rumpke truck couldn't even get to the dumpster
To get it.
county sent a backhoe and a dump truck, and we sent our grabber truck and a dump truck, and
Did you talk to the mayor?
the mayor called and asked for the help, and we responded. So, we got it cleaned up.
Well, we did the right thing, though, by doing the dumpster first.
Little cities need to help little cities. Last Thursday, when we did this, we did it at Washington Square for a set number of hours, and we kept personnel there.
That's the key, isn't it?
If you don't, you'll get all the ugly stuff that should go to Super Recycling Day. I think Robert helped them pull 4 or 5 tires out of that dumpster and said, man, we can't take those to the landfill. So cleaning up your community is heavy lifting, and Kayla tried to do a great thing, and people took advantage of her, and we tried to help.
Well, thank you.
Yes, sir. David?
Mayor, I'm good. Can you reiterate what the time and the date and the location was on the Toyota?
May 10th,
May the 10th,
11th.
11 o'clock.
And
May
that's at
10th.
Toyota?
Oh, sorry, Toyota, not.
The Super Recycling Day?
Well, the one where they take,
Yeah,
Everything.
Super Recycling Day.
Yeah,
That'll be
that's
Saturday, May 12th,
the 12th, yeah.
from 9 to 3.
and which gate is it at Toyota? Does
It
say?
is Gate 7 and follow the signs.
Okay.
7.
And it is literally effortless. You never get out of your vehicle.
May the 12th. Thank you.
They'll do, on May the 11th, they're doing stuff for team members, and very early in the morning on the 12th, they're doing things for team members. It used to be from 9 to 2. I just had to chuckle at Arlene. She pinches a penny. We agreed to increase our contribution from $5,000 a year to $10,000 a year, just because it was being so successful.
Going another
Well,
hour.
This thing used to be from 9 to 2. And Arlene said, we need at least to get another hour out of that if we're getting more money. So that 9 to 3 is Arlene's doing.
You know,
She said she wasn't going to give the extra money without getting something out of it.
Well, paint is one of the items that they take, right?
Yes.
Paint
Tires.
and tires and insecticides.
batteries.
Electronic stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
Electronics.
Oh, that's good. Because
So they will take the tires, too.
private dumpsters get abused in this community without, and I'm sure in every community, and if it wasn't for events like this, it'd be far worse. So,
So it's-
You know,
good.
people can say what they want, but Toyota's probably one of the best partners a city can have.
Oh, yeah.
I am wrong about tires.
I didn't think so.
But this brochure does give places where tires can be taken.
Stamping
They'll do,
There used to be a fee, I think, for.
Still is.
There is per tire?
Yeah.
I mean, I got a couple tractor tires that need to go. I'm not sure who can pick those up.
this brochure can tell you where to get rid of motor oil, large appliances, tires, medication, ammunition. Oh,
Okay.
gosh. Document destruction services. It's all in here.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay?
The other day when we were going to the debate, the road has been paved, Lemons Mill Park, that goes back towards the college, has
Yeah.
been recently paved. Did we do that?
No.
I was gonna say, it is super rough where there's a big drop off, so, but if we didn't do it, then,
Colleges. That's the colleges.
okay. It's a dangerous drop off there.
And we'll, I would think soon after the blacktop plant's open, we should expect our project to get the final coat of blacktop all the way from the bridge out.
That would be nice.
Okay?
The end of Pueblo and Shoshone is so pretty.
Oh. And the Pueblo.
Pueblo and Shoshone. Pretty, huh?
I think she doesn't mean it. Well, I can't see the
Yeah,
picture,
that's
but
the,
Oh.
this is Shoshone right here, this is the end of Pueblo. Shoshone dead ends right there. You go up this way and it takes you to Seminole. I mean, all of that's gone. So, want me to send you that picture?
Would you? That'd be some help. Anything else, Connie?
No, sir.
Chuck?
I have a question. It has to do with the Bell Avenue.
Hmm?
When I was looking at the plat, there's 3 sections that are included. Have they already been closed in the past?
I'm told that the one from Chestnut to Maple was closed 20, 30 years ago. The one from Chestnut to Oak has not. So, I mean, you can only close the ones that they've requested.
So Walnut to Maple was closed.
Walnut to Maple
We're doing
closed.
Walnut to Chestnut.
Walnut to Chestnut, and then
the
Chestnut
other one
to Oak.
is, the other one's still not closed?
Still not closed.
Should we not just go
And
ahead?
we can't do it unless we either sue them, take them to court, or they voluntarily do it. And we could call them and say, hey, do you want to do it? But that would be atypical of what we do.
That's fine.
It's just kind of a homeowner's,
So it's up to them to initiate.
it's up to them.
A lot of people know that.
Conflict of interest.
That's all I had.
Most people know
Mark?
that.
Anything else come before the council?
Good meeting, guys.
Stand adjourned.
Marvin, I've been talking to Terry Devers for 3 years. 3 years.
No, sir, help yourself.
He's done